What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the No Huddle. It's Friday night. We're live. We're talking all 32 NFL teams. No timeouts, no excuses. Tonight we got a lot to get into. The league's heading into that quiet stretch before training camp start, but there's still plenty of stuff happening around the NFL. So we've got minicamp news, injury updates, contract movement, roster signings, quarterback battles. Stefon Diggs still sitting out there waiting. Joe Burrow talking like the Bengals are ready to become a problem again. We'll see. And now we've got the NFL Supplemental Draft back into the play or into the conversation because of Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby. So tonight we're going to break it all down, keep it moving, and then we're going to open up the phone lines and we're going to hear from you, the fans. So if you're watching live, hit that like. Hit the subscribe, hit the notifications, share this out, jump in the chat. This is No Huddle, and let's get after it. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the show tonight. This is the No Huddle, no timeouts, no excuses. What is going on? It's been a fun week this week in the NFL. Some things got overlooked, I think, in the NFL, and some things we're going to talk about tonight and bring it to your attention tonight. So right now, the show, the window we're covering here is from noontime last Friday, June 12th, until noon today. I compile all the news and all the player movements, everything that happens between the NFL, between Friday noon of last week and Friday noon today. So the biggest story for me tonight is not just one signing or one injury. It's the fact that the NFL Supplemental Draft is suddenly back into the football conversation. Hasn't been since 2019. So it's been a while. So some people, because it doesn't happen that often, not a lot of fans understand how the whole process works. So we're going to cover that tonight, and I'm going to break it down as to how this works so everybody understands it to the best of their ability. So we're going to explain it so it makes sense, too, because I've heard it explained in other shows, and some people just don't kind of hit the nail on the head. They kind of miss a few things here. So we're going to get into that. But before we do that, let's check in and see who's here with us tonight. And let's see who's checking in to spend their Friday night with us. And real quick, big shout out to Team USA in the FIFA winning today, beating Australia. Sorry, Afakasi. Sorry, brother. It was a good game. I don't normally watch soccer. I watched the whole damn game today. So U.S. wins 2-0. I was kind of hoping that Scotland was going to win because being here on the East Coast, and especially in New England because they're playing at Gillette, they've been all over New England area. So they've been in Boston, they've been in Rhode Island. So they've been. There's a huge congregation of them in downtown Providence. Been doing the same thing that's been going on up in Boston, where they're just taking over the city, and they're marching around with the bagpipes and doing all their chants and everything, putting cones on all the statues in the state so far. They've hit a ton of them. I guess yesterday they were down in Newport, which is a real touristy area during the summer with a lot of rich people. A whole bunch were down there, and they were putting cones on the heads of the statues down there in Newport. So it's been exciting on the East Coast, especially because they're such a fun group of soccer fans. And I know a lot of the residents in Boston don't want them to leave because it's been such a jolt of positivity and exciting energy in the city of Boston that they don't want to see them leave. They're loving every minute of this. I mean, they're drinking bars dry. Liquor stores are selling out of everything. A lot of the bars in Boston have had to order emergency kegs to get them delivered in the moment because they're just running out of booze and beer and everything else. So that doesn't normally happen. So I can only imagine the beer sales at Gillette probably going through the roof today too. So I was kind of hoping they were going to win, but I think win or lose, the way I've seen the Scots handle themselves here, they're still going to make the best of it, and they're going to have a good time. So shout out to Scotland, and their fan base that's here. And this is happening throughout the entire country. I know this is a football show, but people need to take note of what's going on with the fan bases, because they're not just like for the Olympics. All the countries are going to be based in LA. Here, it's FIFA. It's an international sport. Pretty much, there's a certain number of countries are represented, but they're spread out through the entire country. So you've got the Netherlands down in the Dallas area, and I've seen tons of videos of them celebrating, before the game, and when they got there doing all their hype and they're dancing, they're all in orange and everything. I've seen them doing what they're doing. You see these other countries in Seattle, having their fun, and obviously Mexico won yesterday, so the Mexican heritage in California is huge, especially in LA and San Diego area. So they were out there celebrating last night too. They had a hell of a time. It got crazy down there, and the amount of people that were out on the streets in LA. So it's all these cities that are just having this influx of, I guess you could say it's kind of tourism in a way. So these cities are benefiting huge from this, and so are the stadiums. And it's funny, if you notice, none of the stadiums can use their real names. I know Brian Fowler pointed this out last week at SoFi. He was walking around trying to find anything that had the label SoFi on it, and he finally did. So if you haven't seen it, go check out his videos. It was actually in a trash bin that said SoFi, like one of the push carts that one of the custodians use when they clean it up. That's the only thing he found that had SoFi on it. They covered up everything. So same thing at Gillette. There's nothing that notates it's Gillette Stadium. It's a soccer stadium is what that's what they're calling them. So it's kind of funny. But so let's check and see who's here with us tonight. We got Tokyo Raider in the house. Ayo Anthony's here. Brother Yaya's here. Dave Sosona is here. What's up, Dave? Jack Kustafe's here. Daniel Berry's in the house. I see Lucky. And there's my guy, Kenneth, the Houston Texans fan. What's up, Kenneth? How you doing, brother? Let's see. Brother, I don't watch women's sports. Emergency kegs. Only in Boston. If, like I said, for that to happen in Boston with the amount of drinking that goes on in that town, especially with such a huge Irish community, it's insane if you think about it. What's up, Frank Weber? Israel's here. What's up, Israel? So we're gonna get into this right away. So we're going to talk about the supplemental draft because, like I said, not everybody understands exactly how this works. There's very specific rules with this. All right. So it's a second draft window for players who were not part of the regular NFL draft, but then something happens after the draft that changes their college eligibility, which means they either this could have been last year. If Chambliss was turned down to not come back for the 2026 season in Ole Miss, they would have had a supplemental draft last year, because if he didn't get approved for it, they would have had to have had a supplemental draft last year. No, actually, no, he would have been in this year's supplemental draft. Sorry, take that back. If he didn't get the approval to play in 2026 at Ole Miss, he would have been in this supplemental draft. So maybe a player loses eligibility in that case. Maybe there's an NCAA issue. Maybe something happens where they can no longer play college football, and now they need a path into the NFL, and that's what your supplemental draft is. It's a clear path for these college players that aren't going to play college next year to get there, find their way, open the door, and get into the NFL. But here's the important part. It doesn't work like a regular draft, okay? So teams do not line up and pick one by one the same way that they do in the NFL draft every year in April. Instead, teams basically bid on a player using future draft picks, okay? So let's say a team wants Brendan Sorsby, because that's the name that's out there. He's the one he's got until I think it was the 19th, or was it today, the 18th, to actually formally apply. I got the date here somewhere. I'll get to that. So that team might say, we're willing to use a second-round pick on him. So let's say it's the Rams, and they want to use a second-round pick on him. They can. That's their bid, okay? If that's the winning bid, that team gets that player. But if they lose that same round pick but they lose that same round pick in the draft next year. So if they use a second-round pick, it's the 2027 second-round pick that they're giving up to get him this year, okay? So you're using draft capital for 2027's draft in this current situation right now as we speak. So it's a gamble, basically, is what it is, because you're giving up that valued pick, okay? And this is why this is kind of a good football debate here, because you're not just asking, do I like this player, as a team or a GM, do you like this player? Is this player worth giving up that future capital to get? Again, giving up draft capital is a tough decision to make. So it's a big decision. But the point is, if you look at it, if he were to come out in the draft next year, he'd be in that top tier, even with his past with the gambling and everything, which we're going to kind of cover a little bit of that. He would still be in that upper echelon or upper tier of quarterbacks coming out next year. So would he still be a first-round pick next year? Probably more than likely. The gamble thing may push him to a later first round, early second. You never know. It depends on how much teams dig into his past and how much of an effect it has on it. So now we're going to talk about the order. The supplemental draft order is not exactly the same as the regular draft, okay? So the league uses a weighted lottery system is how this works. And teams are split into groups. So group 1 is teams with 6 wins or fewer from the 2025 or the previous season, okay? Group 2 is the non-playoff teams that had more than 6 wins, all right? And group 3 is all the playoff teams. So any team that made the playoffs, they fall into group 3. So the worst teams get the best chance to be near the top, since the Raiders would be near the top because we had one of the worst records in the league last year. We were dead last because we ended up with the number 1 pick this year. So the worst teams get the best chance near the top, but it's literally a lottery within those groups. That means if multiple teams bid the same round on a player, the team with the better position in the supplemental draft order wins the player. Okay? So let me switch this. What do we got here? Frank Weber. Some pretty notorious players have come into the leagues for the supplemental draft. There have been some really good players. I did have a list. Let's see. Where is that list? Hang on one second. I did have a list of. Where did that list go? I had it printed out, I thought. Guess I didn't. Give me a second, guys. Nope, I didn't. I thought I did. But yeah, there are some really good names that did come out of this in the past too. And yes, hit that like, hit the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Thanks, Tokyo Rita. Appreciate you, brother. What's up, we the people? What's going on, my guy? So for example, if two teams put in a second round bid for Sorsby, the team higher in the supplemental draft order gets him. Okay. So if group one, say it's the Raiders, and group three is the Seattle Seahawks, and we both put in for him a second round pick, we would win that because we have the higher lottery pick, basically, because we're in that group one, because we had 6 wins or fewer. Seattle won the Super Bowl. They were the number one team overall. So we would win that, Seattle would not. But we would lose a second round draft pick. All right. The other team keeps its pick and walks away. So Seattle would keep their pick, and that's it. Supplemental draft's over. And this is what makes it so interesting. Teams have to decide how aggressive they want to be without knowing exactly what everybody else is doing. So again, it's a blind bid. Just like if you're a private contractor and you're trying to get a bid for a city job and it's a blind bid, you have to submit your bid to the purchasing office by a certain time frame. You have no idea what the other bids are, and you just hope that you're the bid that they choose, or that you came in the cheapest or the lowest. So basically, it's a poker game with draft picks, is what it is. So there's going to be talking on the side and stuff. There's going to be people trying to get a feel for what a team's doing. And the whole point is not, you got to bluff, and you got to hope you out-bluff the other teams, basically. So that's how that works. Okay. What's up, Ben? How you doing, brother? How you been? So that's how that works. So to be honest with you, until I looked it up this week, I thought it was whoever had the number one pick, it went in that same type of order. Boy, was I wrong. So no, not every team has to participate. It's up to you as the owner, the GM, or whatever, to participate in this. So you don't have to do it. All teams will have a representative there, supposedly, but there is a deadline for this. So, and as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be until, let's see, it won't be until just before training camp starts. It doesn't, because there's not an exact date yet, because as of right now, he's only talked about it. He hasn't actually, unless something came out today that I missed this afternoon, because I've been with family all afternoon, so I might have missed a few things. They'll have a date then at that point. So, no, not everybody has to participate. If your team doesn't want them, like in our case, why would we? I mean, what would be our need to do that? Unless there's serious doubt about our other quarterbacks on the roster now. But we're going to get into some teams that could possibly throw their hat into the ring for this. So, okay. So the Brendan Sorsby watch. Now let's get into the name that everybody's talking about. Everybody knows who he is. And he comes with some baggage because of the gambling issue. Right? He was betting on his own team. He was betting on the over. So, which is a good thing in a way, I guess, if you're looking at that, because that means he's trying to score points. He's not trying to, fuck up and throw interceptions and do stupid shit, So Sorsby, he's a quarterback who played at Indiana, then Cincinnati, and then went on to Texas Tech. So he's bounced around, okay? On the field, he's got talent. There's no questions about that. He's a talented player. And I've heard, I think 805 talked about it Wednesday night, that if he had come out in the actual draft this year, it would have been a better comparison between him and Mendoza versus the other comparison we had of Ty Simpson and Mendoza. You could have had a better argument for Sorsby over Ty Simpson being the next guy after Mendoza. He has the size. He can move. He has arm talent. He produced at Cincinnati. He threw for over 5,000 yards, ran for over 1,000, accounted for more than 60 total touchdowns over 2 years as a starter there. So it's not nothing, but this is not just a football story. This became a major story because of the NCAA allegation or eligibility issues due to his gambling violations. He's been connected to thousands of bets during his college career. So it wasn't just like this past season. It's been a long-term thing, including bets involving his own program when he was at Indiana. That created a major NCAA issue and eventually pushed him towards the supplemental draft. Now, he can still play in 2026 with Texas Tech, but I think that's why he's doing this, is because I don't know how serious they're going to take him. That's the problem. He's going to be under a microscope. He's going to be under a microscope even if he comes to the NFL. Anytime he gets on that field, that they're gonna be doing thorough background checks on him and making sure he's keeping his nose clean as far as the gambling stuff. Which is why him going to Vegas probably wouldn't be that greatest fit anyway, to be honest with you. So now NFL teams have two evaluations to make. One, can he play? And two, can they trust the full picture of this kid? So this is where you have to really vet a player and really make sure that if you're going to put a potential future draft pick on this kid, you have to make sure it's the right one. Because think about it. If he doesn't get picked up in the supplemental draft and he comes out in next year's draft, he could fall and you wouldn't have to use a second or even a first-round pick for this kid. Because if people are that tainted on him, or he's that tainted of a product coming out of college because of that gambling thing, he could really fall comes next year in the draft. So there's that to think about. The second question might be what decides where he goes, and that's the gambling thing. He's going to need to go to a team that can really keep him under control, I guess would be the best for it. So talent versus risk, all right? This isn't a perfect, this isn't a perfect situation for anybody. Would you touch it in the third round? Would you stay away completely? So who should be interested? Now, there's some teams out there that could probably use him. Let's see, Dave, your thoughts on Trent Stoops? We've needed a talent like him for a very long time. If it works out, man, could we have taken him a little bit later than the second round? Maybe. Who knows? We'll see how this all plays out with these guys in preseason and training camp. So, what's up, Tanner Jack? What's going on, my guy? Well, what's up, Raider Nation? What's going on, my man? Yeah, another long weekend, Tanner, right? So, basically, who should be interested? Teams that at least having a conversation, not teams with quarterback uncertainty. So, there's some teams that come up, if you think about it right off the bat. I'm not saying every one of these teams should do it. I'm saying they have to at least talk about it. You got to kick the idea around. Yeah, they do. Yeah, New England. They do. Yeah, they send it to the New England Patriots. Let them take them. Now, teams that missed on a quarterback this past draft. Teams with aging veterans. That's a key one right there. Now, teams with young guys that still are not. They're not sold on. Teams who know they may be too good to pick high enough in 2027 for a quarterback. That's another big thought right there. If a team thinks that they're not going to be in the running in 2027 because they're going to be good enough where they're going to finish with a better record and they're going to have a later first round pick or later pick overall every round, they may jump on this. It may be an opportunity for them to solidify their quarterback of the future. Who knows? So this is where Sorsby becomes interesting because the supplemental draft can be a shortcut, basically. Shortcuts can also burn you, too. You got to remember that. So now my question is, when we open up the phone lines, we're going to open this up for discussion, too. Would you spend a 2027 round pick on him? Thanks, Tana. I appreciate that. I changed my logo up a little bit, too, if you'll see it. So this hat here, this style's not even on there anymore. I switched it up. And the logo on the back of the shirts has changed, too. I wanted to get this in the image. the mustache, because that's kind of like that's my image. That's my trademark, I guess you could say. So everything now has the skull face, but with the really long mustache. So what's up, Eric? I see you, brother. What's going on? So would you spend a future 2027 draft pick on Brendan Sorsby? Someone's gonna use a 2027 pick no matter what, whether it's this year or actually on the draft next year. And like I said, it's a shortcut, so teams can still make a move for this kid now and reap the benefits of it now. Okay, is he a first round, second round, third round? We'll see. So this is what it comes down to. Now, there's teams out there that could use a guy like him. One of the first teams that comes to mind, and because they've got a strong organization too, they're going to have not a first-time head coach, but they're going to have a new head coach this year. But Pittsburgh, you've got an aging veteran, obviously, a guy that probably shouldn't have even played anymore is Aaron Rodgers. So there could be a good fit for him. If the Rams aren't sold on Ty Simpson, that could be a good fit for him. Minnesota could be another one that's a good fit for him. They're still in. I know they got Kyler Murray and everything, but Kyler Murray's not long-term answer there either, I don't think. The J.J. McCarthy experiment, I think that's a dead issue. I think that's done and over with. Could he go to Philly? Philly's another super strong organization. There's a few teams that you look at that he could go to. Miami, they could use him, but the problem is you got a rookie head coach down there. They just brought in Malik Willis. There's other teams that probably wouldn't benefit from him. Could Dallas bring him in? That's a possibility too. Arizona, but I mean, there's teams that could use this kid's talent because they didn't get a quarterback last year, or they're still stuck with what they're going to do for the future for their team. So if there's any questions on the supplemental draft, if it doesn't make sense, hit me up. You can hit me up on Instagram, 401 Raider Jeff. It's the same on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook's my full name. Drop a comment in the chat. In the comments after the show's posted. I'll answer it. I'll give you links and such, or just Google it, look it up yourself to get the full explanation. I tried to explain it the best I could, but just remember, it's a gamble is what it is. You're going in with a blind bid. Let's see. Definitely get a hedge. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Type the text. Thank you, Anthony, for putting that up. I appreciate you. That link there, if anybody goes to that, that's got all the information for the Raiders-Patriots game. I'm going to be adding the Jets stuff to it, too, because we got a lot of stuff lined up. I was able to solidify the Fenway Park tour. We're going to be doing that Fenway Park tour on the Saturday just before the pregame party at Game On, which is in Fenway Park. So the tour takes an hour. It's going to start at 4:30. We'll be done by 5:30. Then we'll walk down the street to Game On just in time for the start of the pregame party Saturday night at 6 o'clock. So I'm trying to keep everything together there. So that way, people in Boston for that weekend, they can go and do what they want during the day on Saturday. And then at 4:30, we'll, 4 o'clock or so, we'll all start gathering at the Fenway Park, and we'll go in for the tour at 4:30 to 5:30. It's $30 per person. I think it's $25 for kids. I'll put the information up. But if you go to that link, I'll have all that in there. It's not all in there. I got to update it, so I'm going to spend time doing that tomorrow. Next year's draft is going to be good. Doubt any real teams will jump on this unless they have a huge abundance of draft capital. That's true too. Need a pixel. If I'm Pitt, I want to tank and get a QB next year. I think they're gonna tank no matter what. To be honest with you, I don't think they're gonna be that good. You want to edit your logo to incorporate your stash? Let's talk. Oh, I already did it. It's already done. I've already updated. I've already updated all the merchandise too. I've got a online logo image. I've got an image strictly for embroidery, and then I've got an image for strictly for shirt printing. So they're three different style qualities because each one's a little bit different, but they're all the same basic look to the mustache and everything. So Browns draft Sorsby. What's up, Alec? They could. Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Jesus Christ, it seems like they're always grabbing quarterbacks. All right, so yeah, Dave, send me a message on Facebook because I'll forget by the time the show's over. I know I will. So now we're going to talk into the other news on teams. So we're going to start with the Cowboys. Their offensive lineman, Matt Hennessy, he's on season-ending injured reserve after a neck surgery. So he's done for the year. I mean, it's not a superstar headline, but it's an offensive line. It's a depth for them. Depth matters for a team like that, especially for a team that's still trying to find their way on offense, still down there. You know, you think about the 6th or 7th offensive lineman, and then suddenly you need him, you know, which is one of our problems in Vegas. You know, we got to worry about the depth, not so much the starters, too, because some of our starters can't stay healthy. You know, but these types of losses can matter, you know, and depth does matter in June because training camps, for the most part, a month away now. We got 30 days before training camps really open for the summer. So, Dak Prescott, news on him. He's limited minicamp because of knee soreness. Cowboys said it's nothing to be concerned about, and it's in June, so it's probably true. They're not worried about it. It seems like it's not going to be an issue for them. If you're a Cowboys fan in here, you know you want Dak healthy and fully ready for when training camp opens. And that's the only thing that matters. If he's a little sore now, a little banged up now, I wouldn't be too worried about that. He'll be fine. There's no need to panic yet. I don't think so. Moving on to the next part. Stefon Diggs. There's rumors out there of him wanting to go to Washington. That is his hometown. He is from that area. So he's still a free agent, and his name keeps popping up, you know, in connection with Washington Commanders or Redskins as being a possible landing spot for him. You know, he's not ruled out the idea of playing for his hometown area team. You know, Washington clearly could use him because all they have is Terry McLaurin. That's all they have, really, a wide receiver. You know, but I think what's going to happen here is they're still going to wait and hold off and see what goes on with Ayuk, because that's still a possibility too. That's another name that keeps getting floated around is possibly going, you know, to the Commanders or the Redskins is Brandon Ayuk. You know, so if he goes there, then Stefon Diggs obviously won't go there. Now the question is, should Washington sign him? I mean, based on what they have for current wide receivers right now, I would think they'd be crazy not to. They need it. You know, they need another wide receiver to play opposite of McLaurin because right now they got nothing. They got no. Joey Bosa is still unsigned as of when I compiled all these notes today. So as of right now, he's still out there. Let's see, Sorsby to replace Levis. I mean, that could be a possibility, but I don't think that. Well, no, I mean in Tennessee. Well, Levis was what he went to. No, he'd be in there as a backup then because Cam Ward's there, so it's not like he's going to overtake Cam Ward. I think Tennessee's going to be a better team than I think people are giving them credit for. I think that team's going to kind of turn around a little bit this year. Are they going to be contenders? Hell no. Not in that division. The Browns are the guy in fantasy football that drafts nothing but QBs and messes up the draft. Everyone has at least one in their. Oh, yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah. Or they throw out the famous line. They end up with 3 quarterbacks by the 5th round, and like, oh, it's draft. It's draft trade bait. Because then he always ends up grabbing 2 quarterbacks that are completely worthless. Nobody's going to want to trade for him type thing. You know, he grabs one good one that's going to be his starter, and then he grabs 2 so-so guys that nobody else was going to take as a starter anyway. So unless injuries happen, that's the only way he's going to get any type of trade bait out of those guys. Yeah, every league's got a guy like that. Snowden probably won't make the team with Cowboys. Let's see. What's up, Mike Guerrero? What's going on, my guy? How you doing tonight? So I mean that's the deal with the Redskins right now. Next up is Saints. So Cam Jordan's back with the Saints. The Saints brought him back for a 1-year deal. I kind of like this move. It's a veteran guy. They're still trying to build something in New Orleans, so I think it's a decent move for them to bring him back. He's on basically a 1-year show me again deal. He's just one of those players that feels like he belongs in that uniform. Now the question's not leadership. It's not about respect. It's about what he's meant to the franchise. He's been there for so long. The fans love him. The teammates, his teammates love him. What does he still have left in the tank to produce on the field? That's what it comes down to. He definitely gives them the leadership, the situational pass rush. If they're expecting prime Cam Jordan, not going to happen. That's a different conversation. He's not that guy anymore, but he is still that leadership and that heavy veteran presence that teams need. Sticking with the Saints are actually announced that they're going to put Mark Ingram and Teron Armstead into the Saints Hall of Fame this year. It's another great moment. It's a great fan base down there. Raiders actually get to go to New Orleans and play down there this year. Mark Ingram was a tone setter when he was down there. Armstead was one of the better tackles in football when he was healthy. These two players and Saints fans, they should absolutely celebrate these guys. These are guys that were regulars down there. The fan base loved them. Okay. What do we have for chats here? Joey Bosa, Ego wants more money than he's worth. Yeah, probably. Let's see. Get those likes up. We're still at 2 with 10 people. Yeah. Oh, shit. Really? Damn. Come on, folks. Just ordered the Drop Anchor t-shirt. Oh, nice. Thanks. Appreciate that, Eric. Yeah, the Drop Anchor shirt is all proceeds. Any profit that's made on those shirts is going strictly to the chapter to help us offset any costs, primarily for the tailgate. Everything else isn't costing us anything. There's no charge for anybody to go to either of there's a cover charge at the tall ship. That's different, but we're not charging beyond that. Basically, you're on your own for drinks and food. They've got all that stuff there at that location. The only thing we have to worry about that is the weather, because if the weather, I got to work on a backup for that in case the weather's bad and they're not open. I have to come up with a different idea for Friday night. So, but we'll see. Let's see what happens. Because, hey, if you don't like the weather in New England, wait 5 minutes. It'll switch. It'll change. Let's see. Saints fans love. Oh, they do. They absolutely love Cam Jordan. I think he's a hell of a player too. He's been such a leader for that team for so damn long. Saints are going to be sleeper team. They can only, yeah. I like that. 15 likes. Thank you, folks. You guys are awesome. You guys are absolutely awesome. So next up, we have the Falcons with their QB battle, Tua versus Penix. So I guess supposedly it's heating up a little bit down there. Penix he's not been cleared for 11-on-11 yet. He's only been doing 7-on-7 because of his knee. The team is saying that he's where he needs to be as far as healthy enough to get out there and do his thing, but he just hasn't been cleared for the 11-on-11s yet. But if we're talking about a real quarterback competition in Atlanta, reps matter. If you don't get enough reps in, you're going to fall behind the guy that's getting the reps. So in this case, if it's Tua taking those 11-on-11 reps with the full team out there, he's only benefiting himself, and Penix is going to kind of take a hit. I think Tua will end up starting the season, to be honest with you, just because Penix has fallen behind a little bit because he's not able to get those full practices in. He's not getting those full reps with the rest of the team. So keep that in mind, folks, when you're doing your fantasy football drafts. It's tidbits like this that can help you out. Pay attention to some of these quarterback battles this season. because it's really going to have an effect on granted, I mean, I'm not hyping on either one of them. I'm not going to be grabbing either one of them in any of my fantasy leagues. But if you're desperate and you're in a pinch and you need one, you better keep an eye on that. Okay. Right now, if Tua is healthy, he's definitely going to get the more work. And like I said, he's probably going to go into the season starting. I mean, there's a chance he won't stop, but I have a feeling that he's actually going to probably start the first week, maybe more, and then we'll go from there. If Penix gets cleared, it's easier to bench him for Tua. He already has experience with the team. Exactly. That does not mean that Penix won't play this year, but he's on a short leash right now because of his inability to get out there and really compete against Tua and show what he can do in full 11 on 7-on-7 is different. That's a whole different setup and everything. 11-on-11 is a little bit different. You're out there with that full first team, so those reps matter. They matter a lot. Okay. I mean, the big thing is now can Penix catch up at some point? Can he do what he needs to do to really push Tua to the point where he's, no question, is listed as the starter? The quarter. Keep an eye on that quarterback room, because that room is going to be a story going further, especially if there's any doubt on how 100% healthy Penix is. All right. So moving along, we're going to the Bengals with Joe Burrow now. So he's sounding like he's super confident again, like you've heard him in the past. How that translates over onto the field, I hope for his sake it translates well, because I've always liked Joe Burrow. I remember when he got drafted, and I have a post on my Facebook when he got drafted. I said, good luck, Joe. I said, you're going to Cincinnati. I said, this poor kid's gonna be stuck in quarterback purgatory in Cincinnati. And yeah, he's had some great seasons. He's gone to the Super Bowl, didn't win it, but the organization is not doing anything to help him to keep players around him, to keep a offensive line, to keep him off the ground. He's got a great wide receiver in Jamar Chase, and he had at one point T. Higgins. So he's had the weapons. But look at all those weapons if you can't get the protection from your line to get the ball to those weapons. Running game's been a little hit or miss. Hasn't been consistent like you'd like to see it from a team like that. I mean, it remains to be seen. When Burrow's healthy and confident, AFC should pay attention, because he can do some damage. He compared the 2026 Bengals to his 2019 LSU championship team, and that's not a small statement. So he's confident with what they've brought in this offseason. So if he's thinking the 2026 season is probably setting up to be one of the best, the good thing for him, he's in a kind of shitty division. You get the Steelers, who knows what the hell they're going to look like this year. New head coach, they're bringing Aaron Rodgers back. Cleveland's Cleveland. The defense took a hit, obviously. They got Verse in there, but he's a linebacker. He's not a pass rush. He's not an edge guy like Garrett. You're not going to replace a guy like Garrett very easily. It's going to take some time to replace him. Then their question is their quarterback. What's their situation with their quarterback? They just drafted 2 wide receivers back-to-back in this past draft. If they can solidify their quarterback position, I think they'd be a little bit better than what people think. Judkins, he'll be there from the start of the season now. He missed the first few games last year because of, suspension and shit. So I think he missed like the first 6 games. But when he was there, man, he was lighting it up. He was having some great games. He didn't play the full season, and he still almost caught up to Genty. And that's on Cleveland, a team that was no better than us, basically. If they get their quarterback situation straight down, they can finally settle on a quarterback. God knows they drafted enough over the last few years. And then if they throw their hat in the ring for Sorsby, holy crap. They're doing things right in a way up there. because of how they're making moves to gain those draft picks, but it's what they do with those draft picks that matters, though. That's the problem. So if Burrow's right and this offense is right, the Bengals can absolutely become a problem, especially in that division. The Ravens are going to be the Ravens. How good they're going to be this year with a new head coach, that also remains to be seen. Let's see. Alex says Penix will have his starting spot. I mean, there's a chance he could. It all depends on how fast he comes back from that, So, I mean, you guys, let me know what you think. I mean, do you think the Bengals are back? Do you think there's a chance that they could be that team this year that comes out of that division and kind of shocks the other three teams? I think they could. As long as Joe Burrow's healthy, they've got a chance to do some damage in that division. There's no choice about it. So, I mean, the thing with the Steelers, their defense is still going to be damn good. The question mark with Pittsburgh is their offense. With Cleveland, the defense is going to take a little bit of a step back. The offense could be a little bit better this year. Baltimore, if they can hopefully get their center that's going to be replacing Linderbaum up to snuff right away, they could still be decent. They still got Henry. They still got Lamar Jackson. They got some decent wide receivers. They got Mark Andrews as your tight end. I mean, they're still going to be just as possibly lethal. I mean, Henry can take it at any shot and burn somebody. He can take one to the yard. No problem. So we'll see with that. Let's see. Gabriel's going to be gone. That's too bad too, because he's good. Yeah, I think the Ravens. I still think the Ravens are going to be the team to beat in that division this year, right as of right now. Because I think they're the ones that took the least amount of hits. I mean, their biggest loss was their center. The defense might be a little bit better than it was last year. I mean, they do have Trey Hendrickson as long as he stays healthy. I mean, he's not a Max Crosby, but he gets sacks. Max doesn't. Many GMs will stay away from Sorsby and his gambling past, though. And I think that's the thing. And when I talked about that earlier, is the big blemish on him is the gambling issue. That the NFL is going to be watching him like a hawk to make sure he stays out of trouble. He's always going to be looked at. Any shady stuff seems like it's going on. If they can tell that he's, doing something in a game, that's if he even starts too. I mean, he would have to have he would have to be the actual starter to even have any type of control to have any impact on a win or loss or, point shaving or whatever. You're saying the Steelers' offense should be somewhat better with the connection McCarthy and Rodgers have. But it's been a long time since they played together, since they were together. A real long time. So I don't know. I mean, don't forget too, Aaron Rodgers ain't getting any younger. He's not the same. He's not the same quarterback he was when McCarthy was in Green Bay. Still, let's say that first. He's definitely not the same quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. Yes, I get that, but he's not that guy anymore. Age is catching up to him now. So what's he got left in the tank? Who knows? I'm surprised he even came back this year, to be honest with you. Yeah, he's definitely no spring chicken. Not even close. Next up on my list is the Jets with Joe Tippmann. They just signed him to a 4-year, $66.4 million extension. Again, it's not the flashiest topic, but it matters. It's something that I've always said about any team, and especially the Raiders. The trenches matter most. If you don't build your offensive line and your front defensive line, you're gonna have a hard time competing in the league. Teams are just so much better than we have been, especially in the offensive line and on the front line on the defense. I mean, look at how many times our offense got burned by such a great front defensive line. So offensive line – it's huge. That's huge. If you don't keep those trenches going, you're screwed. Next up is Jaguars. There's actually no. I got nothing for the Texans. I know Kenneth is in here. I looked to see what they had. There was nothing there for them. Um, they signed their long snapper. Yay! I told you the news was rough this week. Um, the supplemental draft was the thing that was the biggest talking point out of this entire thing. Um, I mean, some people are going to laugh because it's a long snap, but hey, long snappers make a big difference, man. If you don't have a good long snapper, then your kicks are going to, your field goal attempts are going to be off, your extra points are going to be off. Your punter, is having to jump halfway up into the top of the stadium to catch the ball if it's a bad snap. I'm telling you, long snappers are a bigger deal than people think. If you don't have a good long snapper, that can greatly affect your kicking game, more so than having a bad kicker in some cases. Because if you got a guy that can't snap it consistently and he's snapping wobblers back there and that the holder's trying to grab the ball as it's coming at him wobbling, I mean, good luck. That's not easy. I've done long snapping and it's not easy. It can be tough. The one good thing is the NFL rule, you can't line up on the head of the long snapper. You can't put any pressure on them. You can't even touch the long snapper, basically. So it's definitely it's a good skill, and I think it's a forgotten skill sometimes. People forget how important that position really is. I mean, we had a guy for the longest time, Joe Condo, as a long snapper. We've had some good ones in the past. So long snappers are a big deal, especially if this Matsuzawa is our new kicker. Say it's him. You're coming in with a rookie kicker. You better make sure those snaps are good. AJ Cole, he's been around for a while, so I think he can handle getting used to a new long snapper. But when you're talking about a rookie kicker and you're putting him out there to put the game on the line, with a 50-plus yarder, that's a big deal. And if your snapper sucks, there's a good chance that kick's not going to go because it's timing. So that's pretty much it with the news. But the one thing that I did see is starting to happen is a lot of these players that played in the UFL, they're starting to get looks by NFL teams, which is a good thing if you think about it. So not only are NFL teams getting an influx of college players coming in through the draft, there's a chance that some of these UFL players are gonna, be in training camps. They're gonna get open tryouts. It's happened in the past where some of these players played in USFL. I mean, shit. Look at the USFL. I mean, there was some unbelievable talent that was in there that moved on to the NFL when the USFL shit the bed. Now, I mean, the caliber of players in the USFL were some majority of the cases were equal to the talent in the NFL at the time. You don't have that here. The UFL doesn't have the same talent level of players in that league as the NFL does. They got guys that can be spot fillers and can come in and compete and possibly push people for a job. The USFL was a little bit different. Those players were drafted by the USFL. They were signed for huge contracts. Yeah, I was just going to say Steve Young, Reggie White, Jim Kelly came out of that. Who was one of the quarterbacks? There was another quarterback too. I mean, they were running backs, wide receivers, defensive players that came from the USFL. Herschel Walker started in the USFL and then, came over to the Cowboys. So there was a lot of these players that made that jump when the league folded, but they were good talent. These were guys that could have been drafted either way. They could have gone to the NFL, they could have gone to the USFL. USFL was just paying ridiculous contracts at that time. So these guys were, able to make that move and move right into the starting lineup in most cases. Unfortunately, Steve Young went from USFL to Tampa Bay. That didn't go that well for him down there until he got to San Fran. It's just that Tampa Bay was just such a shitty team. Doug Flutie played in that league. There's another one. Warren Moon, I believe, was in that one before he went to Canada, and then he came back to the NFL. Right? Was Warren Moon in that? Maybe I'll do a show on USFL. It sounds like pretty cool. Right? Do a show on all these defunct NFL, other foreign, not foreign, but then you had the World Football League that was on for a short time too. You know, so I mean, should I still remember what was it? The original XFL, Tommy Maddox. He went on to go to Pittsburgh. You know, he won a championship in the XFL or whatever the league was at that time, and then Pittsburgh picked him up. And he was a starter there for a little bit. So let's see. Jets will have Geno High Stakes Smith to get the first pick. Yeah, I don't have much hope on him. Although there's reports coming out that he's really smart. We'll see. Rodgers wanted one more big paycheck, it seems like. I'm surprised he came back. Yeah, I am too. Isn't Travis staying in the corner? No clue. Long snapper is a good skill for this league. Carlson still hasn't been signed, which is crazy. Where his last couple of years weren't that great. You know, I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. He'll go. Somebody will grab him at some point. It'll be an injury situation, and he'll end up landing a spot with another team at some point midway through the season. You watch. Steve Young was on the other league for a minute. Yeah. Doug Flutie. Yeah. Shit, man. I'm so old. I still remember the game against Miami in the bowl. Threw that freaking Hail Mary up to Pelham. I'll never forget that. Watch that play live. That was insane to see how that developed. All right, so mini camps are pretty much all wrapped up now. So mini camps are over for the most part. Most training camps will pick up again in around a month from now in July. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with some of these teams, who goes where, what storylines start coming out of that, what players make a move, who gets cut, because you're going to have cuts throughout. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on. I know there's still a bunch of draftees or, that haven't been signed yet. So there's still works on that. Now I do have a tentative dates for that up, because they did have these dates. All right, so confirmed dates right now are, let's see, the Patriots report the 24th. It was basically mid to late July, but the official confirmed dates are trickling out team by team. The earliest confirmed full team public dates right now. Okay, so Patriots are the 24th of July, Seahawks the 25th, Packers the 28th, the Bills are the 29th, Bengals the 29th, the Chiefs the 29th, the Buccaneers July 30th, Falcons the 31st, Vikings August 1st. So those are some of the dates that have been confirmed. Oh, those are the first. I'm sorry. Those are the first reported public practices. I'm sorry. That's not when they're reporting. Those are the public practices. So they'll be opened up. And usually the Cardinals and the Panthers, they're going to probably start their training camp before anybody else, because they play in the Hall of Fame game. So they have to make sure that they're ready for that. So they put a decent product out on the field. Let's see. Some Jets blog is hyping up Geno right now. Yeah, it's true, too. They are. They're trying to, they're just trying to find anything they can to have some sort of positive spin on their team. Gravy's in the house. What's up, Gravy? What's going on, my guy? Of course they are. He's going to take them to the promised land. Yeah. He's their tank commander, just like he was for us. He's their tank commander. All right. So I'm going to open up the phone lines. Again, when I do this, once the lines are open, please try and keep it to no more than 2 minutes if you can. It's 401-830-9189. Just want to keep the lines going. So don't want to hear personal stories. Want to hear football. Let's talk some football. I want to see what you guys think about the supplemental draft. What teams do you think would be a good fit for Sorsby? What teams do you think are so hurt in that quarterback that they would throw their hat in the ring for this kid right now? Either way, he's going to be an early pick even when he comes out next year. Will he fall next year if, based on these gambling accusations? It's possible. It's definitely a possibility. There's no two ways about that at all. I almost hit the end stream button. That would have sucked. What's up, Jason? What's going on? Come on, Jeff. Gino was elite. His coach, Frank Reich. Yeah, that's who it was. It was Frank Reich that came out and said that. He's an elite-style quarterback. I did have respect for you, Frank, but I don't know. Not anymore. Not after that comment. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Let's see. So I don't think there's any need for like the Raiders to. There's no need for us to even think about Sorsby at this point. That's the only name that's come out that's even contemplating the supplemental draft. So right now he's the only player that's on record of talking about coming out and doing that. So if anybody else pops up, I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know if anybody else that's that's even hinting at it. There's no other names I've heard kicking around. At least I haven't heard. I don't know if there's any news out there from anybody else that might have seen something or heard something. Sorsby says he's 20-1 to go second round. Now he sets his own odds. Yeah. Oh, he's a big deal now, I mean, he's a big gambler. We'll get him. This is what's tough about this time of year. Now, I mean, I was able to pull an hour out of this just talking with, NFL stuff. I mean, the first 15 plus minutes was, all talking about the supplemental draft and such, which is still pretty awesome if you ask me, because we haven't had it in a while. 2019 was the last time, so let's see what happens. Could we have had one a little bit sooner? We could have. We could have had another one, but what's up, Edgar? Welcome in, brother. Welcome in. So yeah, make sure you guys hit the merchandise store too. I've got the No Huddle hats. I don't have t-shirts done up yet. I'm working on that. I'm thinking about doing those, but we've got the hats. I've got my 401 Raider Jeff merchandise. We have the Raider Nation Voices hats out there available, the show that Jason and I do on Saturdays. Raiders Coast to Coast, the show that I do with Nate, LV Raider 10 on Thursday nights. We have that out there too. I've got the Raider Nation Drops Anchor in Boston shirts available for the Raiders Patriots weekend. All proceeds from those shirts go strictly to the Black Hole New England chapter that I'm the president of. That money there is going towards helping us with the tailgate, to support the tailgate, any funds that we have to use to purchase food and all the other supplies we're going to need for that day. So, and then I've also got my old fire department T-shirt is listed on there too. So the link is in the bio, in the description down below. I know that Tokyo Raider put it up there, and I think AO did too. Dropped the link early on, so that is there. So make sure you guys check that out. I mean, it helps support the show. See, there it is there. It's 401 Raider Jeff shop.fourthwall.com. It supports the show. It helps me, do these things that I do as far as upgrading a lot of background stuff, covering StreamYard so we can do these shows for you. I can do as much as I possibly can to keep, jumping it up. And I'm also, don't forget, I'm on Twitch now too. So I started streaming to Twitch. It's 401 Rated Jeff. If you go to Twitch and search for me, it's in there. So I've got that now too. So I'm trying to expand even more and more. Here it is right here. Twitch.tv/401 Rated Jeff. So I'm going to try and do some more with that. That I kind of, during this off season, my goal was to stop playing some more games and streaming on that to gain more followers to come on over to the YouTube side of things. Hasn't really started to take off yet, so I'm kind of hoping that does work out and we get some more viewers in here. So I just wish there was more NFL news. I mean, once training camp, we get closer to the start of that, there's going to be more things to talk about on Friday nights pertaining to the NFL in general. Right now, it's the super slow time, which is why like the Raider Connections taking a hiatus that it has. Jason and my show on Saturday nights is on the back burner for now until we get closer to the start of the season. Nate and myself, we're taking some time off too for Thursday nights. Plus, he's in the middle of a move. So Nate's moving from LA to Las Vegas. So probably in the next couple of weeks, we're going to end up doing a show because he's got the Battle of Vegas going on. I think it's this weekend or next weekend where it's the Vegas Knights versus the Raiders softball game. And he always goes to that. And he's going to capture a lot of content for it. So we'll be talking about that. And we'll talk about his move to Vegas too, how that went. Because he's going to be our eyes and ears on the ground in Vegas going forward. So he's going to be able to get a lot of information that, we might not hear right away. Might be able to go to things and get a lot more video and do a lot more in-person stuff. So it's going to be, I know he's excited to move out there. So we'll see how that works out. It's Tuesday night show. We've been back for the last couple of weeks. The Most Notorious with myself, Cheeto Linus, and Will from Silver and Black podcast. So we've been back for the last couple of weeks. So that will still be going on right now. So we will be on Tuesday night for that. Like I said, Jason and I are still taking a little bit more time off. This weekend's Father's Day, so make sure if your dad's still with us, make sure you guys, reach out to your dads. And if you're a father yourself, everybody have a happy Father's Day this weekend too. So enjoy the time with your family, your kids. If you don't have kids but you got a dog, spend it with the dog. Take it to the park. Do something with the dog. I got 2 kids and a dog. Then I got 2 grandchildren. So we'll be pretty busy on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it. What's up, Raider Pete? What's going on, brother? I see you in here, man. What's going on? Well, if I'm not going to get any calls, I think I'm going to call it. I've been on for a little over an hour. There's not much going on. There's really nothing to really talk about. Like I said, I'll keep an eye out on this supplemental draft thing going forward. We'll see how this works out. What any type of talk where teams are chatting about possibly a hat in the ring. Here we go. You're on No Huddle with Jeff. State your name and the team you rep.
Jeff, my good man. How the heavens are ya?
What's up, Kenneth? What's going on, my guy?
Not much. Hey, I came across this article on ESPN's website that I'm interested to get your thoughts on.
Go for it.
Which would be your favorite, off-season move?
For which team? Any team?
Yeah.
I think that's super easy. That's the Rams. I think that's the one that has the biggest impact on the NFL, and I think that's the biggest letting your balls hit the table you're throwing everything out there. You're all in for this season. I think it's the Rams with the biggest move of the offseason by far, without a doubt.
I would say that's a good one, but I'll go you one better.
Okay.
How about the Pats picking up AJ from Philly?
See, I don't think that's that big of a deal. I really don't. The reason I'm saying that is because their offensive line is still a question mark. So you can have the best wide receivers in the world, and if you don't have the line that's going to protect your quarterback, which we saw couldn't do during the playoffs very well, definitely in the Super Bowl, having that high-priced top wide receiver is not going to make all the difference in the world. Look at a perfect example. We've already talked about him tonight. Look at Joe Burrow. He's had a kind of piss-poor offensive line in front of him. He's got Jamar Chase, one of the premier wide receivers in this league. And if he can't consistently get the ball in his hands, he's your playmaker. He's the guy that you want to have the ball thrown to. You want him to have the ball in his hands so he can make a play on the field. And if you can't consistently get it to him because you're always on your back because you're getting beat up by the defense, whereas Myles Garrett, he's on the defensive side. They just escalated their defense. Okay, they elevated their defense, actually. They've already got a decent offense, an offense that could put points on the board and rather quickly. Now you just gave them an addition on the defense that's going to be able to stymie offenses in this league where your offense is not going to have to go out there and worry about putting 25 or 30 points on the board. They could put anywhere from 17 to 24 points on the board, and they're probably going to win the game because he makes that much of an impact on your team. I see a big impact overall on a roster than AJ Brown is.
But you also got to factor in with, especially with the Pats picking up AJ from Philly, it could give them an extra bit of firepower that might be able to compete with teams like, say, Buffalo, probably KC.
I get
that.
And I get where you're coming from, but until they make sure that offensive line is fixed, especially on the left side, then they're not going to be much better than last year. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is a fair point, and I would say that's probably going to be the only way that they don't really compete with those teams is, as you said, you got to fix that issue on that left side.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can fix that issue on that left side, that can definitely help with timing, especially with May and AJ. But anyway, my man, I figured you could use at least one phone call.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, my man, my phone's getting a little hot, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go for now.
All right, brother. You take care. Jason, say him about Vita Vea. What's your take on Vita Vea? Might want to trade. No more guaranteed money on his contract. Depends on what the price is, really. I mean, who's he the best fit for? What's his current contract? Let's see. He's entering his final year of his 4-year deal with reported $17 million salary in 2026 that is not guaranteed. How old is he? Everybody know his age off the top of the head? Doesn't show it in here. He can't be that old. Drake May still isn't consistent to make that much of a difference, unlike Stafford and the Rams defense. Yeah, exactly. That's why I think the Myles Garrett is way bigger than AJ Brown. So he's 31. Okay. He's like what, 350 or something like that? He's like 300 pounds. I mean, what team are you thinking? You're not thinking for the Raiders. Is that what you're thinking, Jason, or are you just throwing it out there in general? Because if you're thinking it's for us, I don't see us making a trade for him. I really don't. I'd be more wanting to trade for a top offensive lineman than I would for a D tackle. Let's see what's his stats. Last year, he played in all 17 games last year. He had 34 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 13 QB hits. His career, he has 256 tackles, 35 sacks, 3 forced fumbles over 112 games. See, he's just a hole. He's a run stopper. He's just a hole filler. He's a big boy too, though. He's aggressive. I mean, if just in general, I mean, I'd have to look through each individual team, like who would he be a better fit for, and who's got the capital to. Because they're probably going to want. I can't imagine they're going to want a first-round pick for him. I don't know if he's at that age. That's a lot for a first-rounder at that age. Well, that's not far off from what's Miles. Miles is what, 30 now? Miles is a different breed, though. Miles is giving you more than what you're going to get from Vita Vea. Do you think the supplemental draft could make us try to retrade Max? It really doesn't have anything to do. I mean, he's the only player that's coming out as a quarterback, so it's not like there's somebody else that's coming out that, we would throw a hat in the ring for. I don't think so. I think they're still going to try. I think there's still conversations going on with Max. I really do. I don't think Max is long for this team. I just wish if they're going to do it, let's do it before training camp. Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Don't wait till middle of the season. Let's, because if we do it through the middle of the season, that means we're shit. Okay. And we're just trying to unload him at that point. You may not get what you think you're going to get for him. If a team now sees that, he could be that final piece of the puzzle for them before the season, before training camp starts, to give him the best chance to have a serious impact on whatever team that is, I'd rather pull the trigger on that now, because now we can move around the defense and put players, start working players that's going to replace him and really go from there. I don't want to do it midway through the season. I think either way he's going this year. We've already done it once. We've already traded him once. I honestly think that he is not long for this team. So anybody that says Max ain't going anywhere, he already went once. It's just the other team reneged. It wasn't us. We didn't say we wanted him back. The other team said, no, he's bad physical. You take him back. We don't want him. They played Indian Giver. Actually, no, Indian Giver's the other way around. But yeah, I don't think the supplemental draft has anything to do with that. It could. I guess it could in a way. Think about it. Oh, without a doubt, Tokyo Raider. I agree with that 100%. Our wins will determine if we're the trade deadline's coming up and we've only won like 2 or 3 games, which is where I have us sitting at. I have us at like 2 games, I think, by the trade deadline, because I think we win 3 towards the tail end of the season. I think it'd be a foregone conclusion that he gets traded away. I mean, what are we keeping him for at that point? Because now you're looking at we're still another year away from being any type of competition within our own division. Plain and simple. I still don't think we win a game in our division. Do I want to see us win one? Hell yeah. But do I think we win this year? I don't know. It's going to be hard pressed. Granted, as shitty as we are sometimes, we tend to play teams in our own division at certain points, not all the time, at certain points to play them a little bit better. You know, we're expected sometimes to go in and just get blown out by any one of those three teams, and we end up, one of those games end up being super competitive, and we end up pulling it off. Last year was an anomaly. That win against the Chiefs was a joke win. You know, none of their starters were playing. We were playing against their third stringers. Mahomes had already been out for a few weeks at that point. So, you know, it is what it is at this point. Repeat, my surgery recovery program, oxycodone and muscle relaxers paired with Raider content. Good to be back surfing Raider YouTube. Go Raiders. I appreciate you, brother. Man, get well, get well. Sacktown Mike's in the house. What's up, Sacktown? How you doing, my guy? So he says, I think we have a chance to surprise. Bo Nix isn't going to be 100. Mahomes will dip a bit. And the Chargers are 50-50. See, I think that's where you're wrong. I totally disagree with that. And the reason I disagree with that is Mahomes is way ahead of schedule. Their team has gotten better. All right? They've got a legit running back now that they didn't have before. They've got the Super Bowl MVP. You've got Kenneth Walker in there. Travis Kelce's coming back. Their offensive line's a little bit better. Their defense got a little bit better. I think Mahomes is going to be – he might be rusty at the start, depending on how much he does in training camp and preseason. But I think Mahomes is still going to be Mahomes, and he's still going to do Mahomes things. Broncos, I'm not so worried about their offense. Their defense is lethal. Their defense is nasty. They did bring Waddle in. Again, and I've said this before, I think they overpaid for him. So I think Denver's still going to be just as good if Bo Nix plays. I know there's rumors out there that those pitches that were put out, they weren't legit pitches of what his ankle really looks like. Because I'll tell you what, if that's what his ankle really looks like after surgery, I'd be suing the shit out of that surgeon that performed it because that looks like shit. It looks like it didn't do anything right. It looks like the whole thing was a hack job from start to finish. The Chargers got better too, man. And don't forget, they got Mike McCarthy now, Mike McDaniel as their offensive coordinator. There's going to be a different offense you're going to see this year. I think with the second year running back now that they're going to have, you know, their offensive line is still going to be just as good. Mac is still there. No matter how old he is, Mac is still Mac. He's still a thorn on our side when we play him. I think we're still dead last in our own division, plain and simple. We're still the bottom dweller in our division right now. The Raiders are still the worst team in the AFC West. You can't say we're better than any one of those three teams, with or without their quarterback questions. You got to remember who's there. It's not just the players, it's the coaches. You got three exceptional head coaches on those three teams. Andy Reid is Andy Reid. He's in a league of his own. You know, he's going to be a future Hall of Fame head coach. There's no two ways about that. Sean Payton is Sean Payton. He gets the best out of some of these plays that you don't think he's going to be able to pull out of them, and he does. Harbaugh is Harbaugh. I don't like him. I know a lot of fans wanted him to come to the Raiders when he was available at one point. I never wanted him. I'm not a fan of his, but he's still a good head coach. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's won a college championship. He knows how to win games. He's seen what he's done with this team. And now that he's brought in Mike McDaniel, what a difference that offense is going to be. I'm telling you, you're going to be surprised how good that offense is going to be this year. You know, we're going to see a different Herbert this year, I believe. One that we haven't seen yet, unfortunately for us. You know, that's part of the reason why we went so heavy in the draft and in the secondary between corners and safeties and you know, we beefed up our defense. It's because of who we have to play in our own division. You know, if we can't get Mahomes' face and disrupt him, we could have a great offense, but if Mahomes is still putting points on the board consistently with no problems because we can't stop them, there's a reason why we invested as much as we did in defense and not so much in the offense. I mean, our defense, we $170 something million is our salary on our defensive side. That's insane. That's a lot of money for a defense. So for our sake and the money we're spending on it towards the cap, I pray to God that defense comes out on fire and blows it up. Let's see. AFC West features a mixed schedule. Difficulty: Chiefs 12th toughest, Broncos 15th, Raiders 7th, Chargers 9th, with several challenging non-divisional matchups. We've got a tough schedule this year. I don't see where people are saying that we're going to win anywhere from 10-plus games. If you take the Raider hat off and just look at how we match up against these teams we're going to play, we got a gauntlet midway through the season where we got to play the likes of the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, Seattle, L.A., the Rams, I mean, the Patriots again. You know, we've got some tough matchups. Cleveland is still not going to be a cakewalk. It's in Cleveland later in the season, so you have no idea what the weather's going to be like. You know, granted, Myles Garrett is in there, but we're still going to face Myles Garrett regardless because we're going to play the Rams. You know, so, and I would have rather faced him when he was still in Cleveland than with the Rams because the Rams are going to be a lethal team this year. If the Rams get off to a shitty start, I will be surprised. If they start the season where they only get like one win in the first 4 or 5 games, then good God, that means they're gonna turn it up at some point during the season, and we're gonna be right in the way, and we're gonna get smacked. I think it would up for grabs unless everyone really steps up. What's up, my opinion? What's going on, man? Sacktown, I'm thinking 6 wins. I had us at 4 wins, but when they traded, I already had us losing to the Rams regardless of Myles Garrett. But when they traded, when he went from Cleveland to the Rams, and now that Cleveland's defense is getting dropped a little bit in talent, I gave us the win over Cleveland that time. So that brought me up to 5 wins. I don't see us getting any more than that. I don't even see us beating the Patriots. As much as it pains me to say that, I think they're still right now. Again, you got to remember, you got to base everything on how we were last year. Don't look at what you think we're going to do, how you think we're going to do. Look at us consistently from last year to this year. Well, until we get on the field, we don't know what we're going to see. We have no clue. We have no clue what the Raiders are going to look like. No team in the NFL knows what they're going to look like until the season starts. Seattle's going to look different. They're going to have new coordinators. You know, the running back room is going to be a little bit different. Charbonnet's still banged up. You don't know if he's even going to be ready yet. You know, the Rams have increased their talent with what they did by bringing in Myles Garrett. You know they're going to be better with a guy of his caliber. All right. The Patriots, who knows? Yeah, A.J. Brown could be a great thing for them. You know, Miami, new coaches, new quarterback. That team's in disarray. They got no wide receivers. Who knows what they're even going to look like? Who knows what Cleveland's going to look like this year? Cleveland could come out better. You know, so until the games start this year, we don't know where any team is going to be in this. We're all starting 0-0. You know, preseason will give us an idea on what we're going to look like. You know, hopefully after that first game, it solidifies what our offensive line is going to be. And we don't play this stupid-ass game like we did last year. You know, because if we start that shit again, it's going to be a long year. It's going to be a long year. Let me catch up here. 10 wins would be 10 wins would be a ridiculous miracle. What's up, G-Fam? I see you, brother. What's going on, man? No, I haven't yet. I know I need to watch that. Let's see. I know I haven't had a chance to really talk, but you know what? We're going to talk some Raiders. We'll talk some Raiders as soon as you guys are mostly in here. I'm going to close the phone lines down. Unless you guys, you know what? I'll leave the phone lines open. If you guys want to call in and talk Raiders, that's fine. I haven't had a chance to really talk about this, and that's the situation with the whole JPJ thing that people are talking about. Uh, Coming back, that some of the coaches are saying it's a maturity level thing, or you know he's still not where people think he should be. This is coming from coaches or the players supposedly. How true that is, I don't know. But I will say this, and I've said this before. You guys can go back and see it on some of my shows last year. Maybe, just maybe, now that we've got this offensive line coach in there, Dennison, maybe JPJ is not as good as we think he is. Does he take unnecessary risks? Does he not do things the conventional way that they want him to do? Is he trying to showboat? I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that these are hidden things that we don't know. Unless you're part of that organization and you're in the room where these things are being talked about, nobody knows. So maybe he's not the guy we thought he was. I honestly think that he could possibly be odd man out from the starting five. I really do. That's not saying his talent's not there, but I think he might just possibly get beat out. There's only two positions right now that I think are locked in on that line, and that's Linderbaum at center and Colton Miller at left tackle, provided Colton Miller stays healthy. If Colton Miller has any type of a relapse or, gets another injury, we're screwed on the left side. Who are we putting in there? Yeah, he does. If he makes mental mistakes, doesn't matter how violent he plays. Kubiak does exactly, Jason, and that's pretty much what I'm getting at with that too. Is he not making the smart moves? Is he trying to do too much sometimes because he feels as though he needs to do that? And again, that could play into him, immaturity too. Frank says 2-4 in the division, 7-2 overall sounds almost ambitious. But yeah, it does sound ambitious. I think he's struggling to acclimate to the new team and regime, and he's the odd. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think he is the odd man out. What's up, Rosetown? I see you, brother. I really do. How much of an impact does this rookie Trey Zune have coming in here? How does that switch things up? What type of an impact does he have? How good really is Grant and Rodgers? We didn't get to see enough of them last year, but what I did see of, especially Rodgers, I think Caleb Rodgers is going to be a guy for the future for us. Grant still has a lot of possibility here too. I like the kid. I like what I saw from him. Both of those guys should have gotten a fair shake last year, and they didn't. And again, that was all on the coaching. It was just bad overall coaching. In the playing the head games last year with JPJ, you're at center, you're not at center. You're at guard, you're not at guard. Oh, now you're competing. No, you're not competing. You're on the bench. Now this, now that. They fucked with his head so much. And I've said this before the draft even, that when these new coaches come in, they need to sit down with him and Glaze separately and clear the air with them, get their heads on straight, and let them know that last year was an anomaly. And don't take it for take it for what it was. Come on, answer. There you go. You don't know huddle with Jeff. State your name.
Sacktown.
Yeah, I'm hanging up.
Okay, I figured as much. But yeah.
What's up?
I know. I'm here repping Seattle. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
What's up, man?
How you doing, man? I know it's Friday night here, like other teams' night, but I just figured I'd call and bug you. I'm your favorite pain in the ass. You know that.
You're not a pain in the ass. I already said we can talk Raiders now. I mean, I've been on for an hour and a half. Kenneth already came in and called, so I think once the season gets rolling, I'll get more non-Raider fans in here. I need another show to go on the air at the same time I do, so the Raider fans can go there.
You said Kenna was on?
No, Kenneth, the kid that's a
Oh,
Houston
Kenneth.
Texans
Oh,
fan.
okay,
Kenneth called. He called it.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the New England fan, wasn't he? If I'm not
No,
mistaken.
Houston Texans.
Oh, Texans. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how you got New England out of that, but okay.
I have no clue either.
If you have no clue.
Anyway, I just thought I'd pop in and say hi, and just to say hi and disrupt the show for a minute. And I wanted to talk about my offensive line. I have Colton on the left, and then Burford, I'm not all that high on, but I kind of think he's going to be our left guard, but I would rather see Jordan Meredith at left guard. I thought he did really good at that a couple of years ago. Tyler Linderbaum is definitely our center.
Yeah.
Right guard, I definitely think JPJ with, Caleb backing him up. And then I'm still like more pro Grant at right tackle than I am Glaze. So I'm a little different on that one.
I don't disagree with you on that one at all. On Glaze, I'm not done with Glaze yet. I know he regressed. I mean, the whole offensive line regressed last year. I'm kind of just I'm chalking that up to bad coaching overall, and just they weren't getting the right information to really do what they should have done. Because for him and JPJ to take such a step back from what they did their rookie year, because the second half of their rookie year, when they were out there getting all that play time, they looked great. And then all of a sudden this year comes along with, Pete Carroll in there and had so much potential going into the season, and then it turned dog shit so fast. So I'm not done with Glaze either. I still want to give him a fair shake. If anything, he's the backup. He's the backup to Grant.
Yeah. I kind of get the feeling that they're kind of like saving Grant. I think they potentially want Grant to replace Colton in a couple of years when Colton retires. I think they're seeing Grant as our left tackle of the future.
See, and I know you said you're not that crazy about Buford. Here's the thing with him. He's got the experience, though. He comes from a team, a good team. It comes from the 49ers. I know Raider fans don't like to hear that, but he comes from a team that, had a good offense, knew how to block for his quarterback and his running back. I mean, Jesus Christ, McCaffrey,
familiar with the system type of
guy, familiar with the system. I think he's got the potential to be what we think he could possibly be. I've heard people say he's a spot player. No, he's not. He's not a spot player. He's a guy that's going to come in here with a lot of starting experience on a relatively extremely young offensive line, if you think about it. The most experienced guy in that line is Colton Miller and then Linderbaum. Linderbaum's got the most consistent starts outside of Colton Miller on this offensive line right now.
Absolutely.
He's been a starter for 4 years. JPJ hasn't started every game for the last 3 years. He came in the year before JPJ. Glaze and Grant haven't, or Caleb Rogers haven't, Caleb Rogers and Grant are second-year guys. Glaze is in his third year. So as far as quality starts, it goes Miller, Buford, and then Linderbaum. So you've got 3 guys that have a lot of starts under their belt, and that says a lot. That has a bigger impact in some ways, because these are guys that have legit playing experience, playing against higher tier defensive linemen.
It's just a matter. I mean, I think we have our offensive line isn't that far off. I mean, it's just a matter of them playing together and getting used to knowing, okay, that guy's going to be there, and stuff like that. The continuity, we got Rick Dennison this year as opposed to Brendan Carroll as our offensive line coach, so I can only see that going up. How much, I don't know. I mean, it takes a while for the offensive line to gel. We just have to realize that,
Yeah, I get that, Rebel, but he's not going to be one of the starters. You know what I'm saying? As of right now, anyway. You said Jordan Meredith has a lot of starts as well. He does, but I was just looking at guys that are going to possibly be the three mainstays right now. I think it's Buford, to be honest with you. Meredith, I think he's Meredith is the backup center too. So I mean, he's not even going to be looking at guard,
right,
or tackle.
Right.
So he's the primary backup for Linderbaum. It's not going to be JPJ. JPJ is not going to touch the ball. That's just not going to happen. He's
right.
If he's better at anything, he's better at the guard position. If he makes a starting five. I'm telling you, I think this is
the great thing is he's
coming in as a
guys
backup
that we could see in different positions, which we haven't had in a while. So I mean, which relates to depth. We do have. If this doesn't work, we can do that. Because this year is basically a wash as far as I'm concerned.
Oh God, yeah. Everybody gets a free pass this year, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Exactly.
If we win 3 games, we win 3 games. I'm not going to be screaming at the TV and yelling at the team. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. Nobody gets fired this season unless they go out and they murder somebody, type of shit. Or they do something detrimental to the to the organization. Other than that, nobody gets fired from this coaching staff. I just don't see it.
Well, I just see that this year's staff, Kubiak, Vitek especially, they have like a 3 to 5 year plan. They're not, of course we want to win now.
You're short term.
Realistically, it takes more than 1 year, and we've done a great deal this year in getting some backup in some positions, but we got a long ways to go.
Yeah. See what it is.
It takes a couple of years.
I look at it this way. So in the business world, or I'll equate it to in the fire service. When you're a new chief coming into your department, you have to have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. How that translates over to the NFL, it's a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan. Your 3 years is your finding out phase. You're getting the pieces to your puzzle to get you to that third year where you start to be competitive by your 3rd year. By your 5th year, everything should be fully rolling in the right direction. You should be consistently in the hunt for the playoffs, if not, winning your division already. So by 5 years, this team should be clicking on all cylinders, winning games consistently, being in the upper echelon of the NFL, to the point where we're in the talks of, highly considered, playoff contenders, and possibly even in the mix for AFC Championship game, or even possibly Super Bowl, an odds-on favorite to make it to the Super Bowl. Winning it's still another thing. Getting there is the first, the major hurdle is getting there. So it's got to be that 3-year process. We can't just burn through coaches after a year or two and say, well, it didn't work by the end of year 2, so you're out the door. You need that consistency. And if by year 3 the consistency is not there at the end of, say, the 2028 season, guess what? Then, all right, we got to stop and readjust. We got to reevaluate here and think about what we're going to do. And getting back to the JPJ thing, because that's kind of what we were talking about here. I know I've heard other people say, oh, we should trade him away. No, you don't trade him away. He's definitely a depth guy where you can come in as an injury replacement, or a situational thing where you bring him out. You don't want to get rid of a guy of his potential, because he does have potential. If he doesn't make the roster, you don't just trade that guy away. Depth is on the issue.
What have we been saying about an offensive line? We want an offensive line with an attitude. Now, JPJ has an attitude, and then what are people saying now? Oh, he's got too much of an attitude being.
Well, I think it's what? Well, I think they're saying it's a different style attitude is the thing. It's not necessarily that he's got that aggressive attitude, but is he so aggressive that he's not doing things the right way?
Yeah, he's going to cost you some 15-yarders.
Yeah, and that's what you don't want. You want somebody that's a smart player that's not going to do shit like that.
Right. Well, sometimes when you get, the crazy, you're going to get some of the bad stuff that goes with it. Is it look at Lyle Alzado and some of our other, former players, Lester Hayes, Jack Tatum. You're going to get that crazy every once in a while. Is it worth it for what they do for the rest of the plays? And I think it is for JPJ, in my opinion.
So Rebel says no one gets 3 years anymore. It's a win now league. We're not in a position in a win now situation. The Rams are in a position for a win now. We're not in a position of a win now. We've got a rookie head coach. We've got rookie offensive and defensive coordinators. You've got a slew of new players on this roster. You've got a whole different offensive scheme that we've never run before. You've got this influx of free agents and draft picks, and we're not in a win now mode. We're not there yet. We're not one player away from winning it all. The Rams, they were one player away, and they've solidified that. They brought in a guy like Myles Garrett, who is going to ultimately just change that NFC West. They're going to be odds-on favorite. In my opinion, they're the odds-on favorite to win the whole damn thing. That's how much of an impact that guy makes. He didn't have the supporting cast in Cleveland. He's got a supporting cast in L.A. And not really on the defense. It's the offense that matters. Offense puts points on the board. I'm Myles Garrett. I'm on the defense. Guess what? I'm going to do everything I can to not let that team put points on the board against me. Because I know I've got the offense that can, keep up and surpass this team we're playing against, which is pretty much just about every other team they're going to play against this year. There are going to be some games they're going to lose. There's no two ways about it. They're not going to go undefeated. There's going to be some games where they're going to put points up against the Rams, but the Rams are still going to – they're in it. They're in that win-now mode. We're not even close to a win-now mode. So this is where fans have to have patience. If you're sitting here thinking now we're in a win-now mode, then you've already lost. That's my opinion.
Right.
You've already set this team up for failure. You're already, if you're thinking we're going to hit 10 games this year and we're going to make the playoffs, and then we only win 4 games, you're going to be screaming at the TV or screaming on your podcast, screaming about how bad we are. Well, I didn't say we were going to win 10 games. The team didn't say. You're the one that set that expectation, not us. You said it. You set us to be a playoff team and win a Super Bowl this year and all this shit. Well, if the Redskins did it and Chicago did it, why can't we? Not saying we can't, but what are the absolute chances? Those were flukes. Those just.
It's hard to preach patience to a fan base that has been patient for
and that's just it too. And
I understand that, but the fact is, okay, but the difference is now that I see is that we can see things changing that can possibly, okay, give them a couple of years. It's hard to see. Everybody wants to start Mendoza day one. For a fact I'm not I'm not one of those guys. So, it's like, it sucks to keep saying you have patience. Well, I've been having patience for 20 fucking years, well, it's going to take a couple more. Just see where they're going and see, it looks better this year. Compared to last year, the coaching staff, the undrafted free agents that we got, the draft picks we got, you can see a different direction, and you can hear it by all the interviews from all the players. They're all on the same page. It's like, I just, there's something that they feel. If they're feeling it, I'm going to feel it too, and just give them a couple of years. It's going to take a while to kill.
Yeah. Like Detroit got.
Look at our defense. 3-4 defense. They're going to be, substituting a ton on the defense. With that 3-4 defense.
So
they got to get time together to where these subs come in on time and stuff. There's no delay games and all that other kind of stuff. To where everybody's on the same page. That's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple of years.
So Detroit God said Dan Campbell didn't come here to Detroit and immediately started winning. It took about 2 or 3 years, but he put in a foundation in place of winning, and it gave the fan base excitement. Exactly. You know,
exactly.
everybody
Yeah,
everybody expects all these teams with new head coaches to do what Chicago did last year when Ben Johnson got in there and took him to the NFC Championship game, or what Dan Quinn did in Washington where he brought in a rookie quarterback and they went far in the playoffs. Nobody expected either one of those teams to do that. Absolutely not. You know, but they did. And again, it's an anomaly. It's a once in a lifetime type of thing. It happened 2 years back to back. You know.
Yeah. Well, nobody predicted New England and Seattle being in the Super Bowl. You know.
Yeah, Gio, I don't think we're gonna have a winning record this year. If we do, that's great. Trust me, I would love to see it. I'm not petitioning saying I don't want us to win. I would like to see us win. It's just realistically, I look at us at no more than 5 wins, absolute tops. If we pull a couple more out of that, like surprises, so be it. That's awesome, you know. But I'm not going to sit here and cry if we don't win, you know, more than 3 games. If we don't win 3 games, if we only win 3 games next year, with all this influx of new players and everything else going on right now, this is different than what was last year. Okay, because we expected to win last year with a proven head coach, a guy that's done it before. In his own words, I'm not here. I'm here to win. You know, he was building for a win now, and look what that did. He brought in all these older players that just didn't amount to a hill of beans. Our linebackers were horrible. Our secondary was pathetic. Our defensive line couldn't get out of its own way. Our offensive line was a mess. We had basically no wide receivers. Our best wide receiver wanted out, and we traded him away. Our best player is our tight end, and he was injured most of the season. Our running back couldn't get holes open for him to run, and some of those, they weren't all on the offensive line. That was his bad decision. Our quarterback was complete trash, you know, and it necessarily wasn't all Gino's fault either. The offensive line was bad. The receivers couldn't get open. You know, there were so many different things that just snowballed, and everybody thought we were going to have a great year and win all these games, and that's what they're thinking now. And you know, a lot of people saying, "Oh, it can't be any worse than we only won 4 games the year before." Yeah, well, guess what? Last year's team said, "Hold my beer," and we only won 3. So I'm not going to sit here and say, "Well, you know, we're not going to win. We're not going to
wins
win games this year." I can see that. Well, and if we only win 2 games, now what? Yeah, I mean, last year's team was a disaster from start to finish. You know, and for Pete Carroll to come out and predict 10 wins, that was dumb.
Well, that was a great synopsis, I think, of last year, what you said. It's like, you know, I'm going to get out of here because I know you probably have other callers that want to call in and say something really cool. So, but I just wanted to pop in for a little bit and say hi because, you know, I love you, brother.
Same here, brother. I love you, man.
I will be back in the chat.
All right, Mike. Take care. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate you,
too, Jeff. Thank you for having me on.
Later. Let's see. 6 is our bottom, and everything else is up. Everything else up is a miracle. Yeah. Anything more than 3 wins is a miracle, as far as I'm concerned. We won 3 last year. Let's at least shoot for 4 right now. Improving progressively is all relative. Exactly. Oh, yeah, we do have a lot to improve and earn, 100%. Our O-line has chemistry, but does it, though? All we need is structural coaching. We will have a Cable Jackson season. Oh, Cable Jackson season. Bro, 2010-20 was exciting, and I expect that kind of season. I hope so, too. You're on No Huddle with Jeff. State your name and the team.
My man Raider Mike.
What's up, man?
I'm Raider Mike calling out of LA, man.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm lovely, man. How you doing?
Good.
I just wanted to call and talk some Raider stuff with you, man.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Some of the recent stuff what we've been going through. You know, I hear the mini OTAs. I heard they ended off on a great note, man. I like to see that right there. You know, like what I heard. If you watched this press conference with Kubiak, I liked some some of the things he was saying. We got a lot of players making progression. Like Trey Tucker. I know guys are down on Trey Tucker, and I feel like it takes a lot in this league to really, for a wide receiver. I don't feel like we had the quarterback the last 2 years for Trey Tucker to succeed. I feel like I've seen improvement every year he's been in the league, though. So for me, that's a good sign on Trey Tucker.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. But again, this is still, we're talking, mini camps, OTAs. I want to see the proof in the pudding. Actually in full contact. In a preseason. You know what I mean? Everybody can look good in mini camps and OTAs. Right now, see, with mini camps and OTAs, my opinion, it's about learning the plays and conditioning your body. That's pretty much what it is. That's how I look at it. It's getting you ready for training camp, where you're going to be out there every day, running and doing these plays, especially when it gets hot as hell out in Vegas too, Granted, I'm sure they'll probably be inside a lot too with the AC, but who knows?
Or they'll start early. They probably could start off.
Yeah, they'll start early in the morning. The thing is, again, what really hand ties these coaches in the NFL, not just Raiders, the NFL in general, is the amount of contacts, amount of full pad contact type practices. You're allowed at 14 during training camp and 14 during the 18-game season. So 18.
What? I kind of, to be honest, I like it, man. I'm around football a lot. My dad coached high school football for years. He just retired. So I understand the physical part of it. It's you really don't want to get your star players hurt like that. And the league,
I get
even
that.
overall for the league, it's kind of like, when those star players get hurt in training camp, it's kind of like a sword for the league, and for the fans too. Like if we was to lose Brock Bowers in training camp, I would be pissed.
Yeah,
but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying as well, though. It's like it's for the young players. How do they develop?
Well, it's for the young players, and I think where it really matters the most is your offensive line and defensive line being able to fire off at each other and just smack heads. You got to get used to that impact, that collision of mass on mass like that, and physically pushing the other player out of the way to make that hole for the running back, or working that pass blocking, where you've actually got a guy coming at you full speed. Provided as soon as they get by you, they don't, they slow up and don't touch the quarterbacks, or don't hit the running backs. I mean, I get all that, but I think that's where it comes down to is in the trenches, just the constant, every time they have these physical practice, just hit and hit and hit and hit, not so much, in the secondary or, with the linebackers coming up and smacking the running backs and shit. But being a little bit more physical on the pass routes, with the defenders, with the corners, the safeties, not physically hitting them, but being more hands-on, like how you would in a game. The quarterback needs to see that because he needs to see where he needs to target with the ball, to see how he's going to develop.
I feel like we have those. We got, especially if Max is around, he's definitely going to make sure camp is competitive. When you got those type of guys, I think we should be pushing each other. I don't think we should be taking the soft way out. We know we not one of those. If you like the Chiefs or the Rams, one of those good teams, you can afford to slow it down a little bit, because it's a long season. I feel like we definitely should ramp it up. But hopefully we have a good camp, man. What do you think about? Cause I'm hearing some rumors. Do you think there's any chance that we land Jalen Carter or Vita Vea by any chance?
I mean, either way, we'd have to trade for either one of them. So it's like, what draft capital are we willing to give up?
Right. It seemed like both of those guys. I mean, first rounders for sure.
I mean, if if I
the
had
young guy, you might for first and a second for Jalen Carter right now.
Well, that's just it. If I had a pick between the two, I'd be going for Jalen Carter because I want the youth more than anything. I want somebody that's going to be here long term. Vita Vea is 31,
Right.
so there's that age difference. They're both going to come with a heavy price tag unless it's a trade for a player and maybe a pick. Who knows? I don't know what type of negotiations we're talking here. I mean, Jalen Carter is probably going to be more expensive than Vita Vea as far as a contract goes. Vita Vea is only on his last year.
He's going to want the money of what's the guy from the
Yeah,
Titans who just got
Vita
paid?
Vea right now is on a 17 mil, and it's not guaranteed, which is part of the reason why he's looking to do something. So I mean, if I had a choice between the two, I would definitely want Jalen Carter, the guy we should have drafted in the first place a few years ago. But it is what it is. I mean, is it a max for Jalen Carter and some picks involved? I'm all for it. But I'd rather do it sooner than later. I don't want to wait until, before the trade deadline. I'd rather do it now before camp starts so we can figure out who's going to be the replacement for Max that's currently on this roster, or are we going to do something different? There's so many questions with that as far as, the biggest thing is the cost. What's it going to cost us in the long run?
Right.
If it's Max we're trading away, then we're going to have the money to do it because his contract's so much bigger than both of those.
Right.
We'll make out in the long run there. But if we keep Max and bring one of those two in, it's going to cost us. Because Vita Vea is going to want a new contract, and it's going to be more money for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like we should stand pat or try to catch one of those, try to catch somebody in free agency. I'm hearing good things about JJ Pagoosh. I feel like that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, Pagoosh.
The rookie from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hearing good things about him. I loved what I've seen from Tonka Hemingway last year. I know he's not more of he's not a nose tackle. He's more of a just a regular DT.
And I think that's the thing too, is we saw some good signs from defensive tackles that we grabbed in last year's draft, and that was on such a shitty ass team. So imagine them this year with better coaching and everything. How does that relate this season? Are they going to take a step up? Are they going to be even better than they were last year? I kind of hope so. They got another year on the.
Yes, man. I think they're definitely going to take the step up because
I mean,
so that defensive line and then linebackers are like one. We improved in our line. I don't know how healthy we're going to be, but if we healthy, with our linebacking core, oh my God, man. We're going to, instead of I feel like we had a problem with the run last year. That was where we struggled at. We couldn't stop guys on first down, you know what I mean, nor third and short. We had a real problem with that. So I feel like we'll see much improvement with that on our roster with this new linebacker core because I really like what I'm seeing from the kid we got from Philly.
Oh, Booker?
No, Dean, the linebacker we got from Philly. I like. I've been watching his highlights. I like that kid, and I also like the guy we got from Green Bay, Quay Walker. He 6'4" and he moves like that. It's like I trust Robbie Leonard. I think Robbie Leonard, to me, when I hear him speak, he seemed like a player's type of coach. He seemed like he's going to let the players, you know what I mean? What do they like to play? I feel like you need that sometimes. A lot of coaches try to, they try to make it, they try to force their way,
The only problem with the linebackers now is after Walker and Dean,
we're light.
Our depth is horrible at linebacker.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if we find Devin White. I wouldn't mind if we went and got Devin White, our free agency is still sitting.
But that's my biggest worry right now. That's, I think, outside of still kind of question marks at wide receiver, I think that's our biggest weakness right now is that linebacker room. It's after those two, and I forget one of them's injury issues, on top of that.
Yeah,
so
Kobe Dean.
Yeah, Kobe Dean. So
he's hurt right now.
We lose him. Now we're bringing in the Eichenbergs, we're bringing in Tommy. It's just, Our linebacker room is weak.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean,
our secondary is
I
going to
don't
be good.
understand.
We're going to have a hell of a secondary between our safeties and our corners. You know, I'm
Oh yeah,
not worried
much
about our
improvement.
front line.
Much improvement there.
Oh,
Much
God, yeah.
improvement
Compared to
there.
what we had last year, yeah.
Man, and if we can get if Jamar McCoy, if he's healthy, oh my God, we got a lot of depth there.
I told you
That's one of the few spots on our roster where I say it's a lot of depth. You
with
know
McCoy,
what I mean? There.
With McCoy, he was low risk, high reward.
Oh yeah.
Because we got him so late. And if he comes out and he plays and he's as good as he was his last year he played, which was 2024, beautiful pick.
Oh yeah, you know, because I'm gonna tell you, cornerback is more mental than physical. So you never lose the mental side of that. Those skills that he acquired during that time, all he got coming from injury, all he's got to get back is his moving, his speed, little things like that. The physical part of the game. You know, when you play cornerback, we want you to tackle, but you don't necessarily. If you're one of those guys and you make plays, you know, it's not. You don't have to be the. I can't think of a great tackler. You don't have to be a Ray Lewis to tackle. You know, you much more clean. You're the secondary help, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You don't really see cornerbacks with a lot of one-on-one tackles. You know. Like he's the last line of defense or anything like that. You don't really see cornerbacks in that match.
Well, here's the problem. If your corners or your safeties are leading in tackles, then your front line's not that great.
Oh, yeah.
That's a problem. You know.
What do you think about this kid, Lackey Taki? I'm hearing a lot of hype around the guy. But it's like,
you know what? If they put him out there, he's going to be out there as nose tackle. So basically, it's the easier position for him to learn because they did have him on the offense, and that can be confusing for a guy that hasn't played a lot of football to begin with, who's new to the sport. Now, he's just a hole filler. You know, he's just filling the gaps, taking on blocks, eating up those blocks.
Like a good nose tackle. I think he could be a great nose tackle if he develops, because that's all you would need him to do. I've never seen him.
He's just going to take up space.
I didn't see too much of him in preseason last year to see if he's like that. He got a lot of power. I mean, but when I see him, he got a strong base. That tells me a lot. And just by his size,
he's a big boy.
6'6". Yeah, I mean, I would hope the power is there. So I mean, that's a positive sign, man.
Yep.
Before I get out of here, because I know it's a lot of people probably trying to get through. I was calling a few weeks ago, and I told you I think we got a chance to make a wild card, right? And I know you stand pat because I've been listening, and I know you stand pat on where you stand, man. But I just wanted to let you know, man, we got a chance, man. We got a great offensive coordinator, followed by, the leaps and bounds that Mendoza's making right now. I know you want to see it. I know you got to see it in training camp. But I just, I know ball, man. This team feels like it kind of feels like I don't want to say 2016, but the last time we made the playoffs was 2021. It feels like that type of team right there. You feel me?
Before McDum came in here.
Yeah. So it feels like that type of team. You got your playmakers, you got a little speed. N'Kobe Dean's kind of remind me of Denzel Perryman. I feel like Quay Walker reminds me a little bit of Divine Diablo, but he's better. And
that's not a good thing, though. Divine Diablo wasn't that good.
Yeah. I liked him because of the size. He was able
I get you.
With tight ends. It's like once we lost him, we've been getting torched by tight ends again, and we struggle with that.
Yeah, we've always had issues with tight ends, regardless of what year it was. It seemed like tight ends always get the best of us, regardless. Seriously,
yeah, that's one of our weaknesses.
Where we just can't do good against tight ends.
But I like what Spytek did. If you look at the guys that he drafted, Stoops, he's a bigger safety. You know what I mean? And you can move him around. He's like a Joker type of piece. You can move him all around.
He's like a Patrick Surtain from the Broncos.
Exactly. You could do a lot of things with that guy.
Look what he did one game against Brock Bowers. He turned Brock Bowers invisible one game.
Yeah.
The second game, but he did it in one game.
And he got Devontae Adams as well. Devontae got him one time, and in the second matchup, he shut him down. And I believe that was his rookie season that time. But yeah, I like what Spytek did with the secondary, and that's why I kind of leaning towards just having a good year, man. I think you're going to see a lot of takeaways on defense. Our special teams will be better. We're going to make more impact plays. We're going to go down the field. I feel like we got a quarterback that can move the ball down the field. We're going to be a more explosive offense with Kubiak. Yeah. And I'm gonna leave it off like that, man. It was good talking to you, Raider Jeff.
Oh, same here, man.
Appreciate you calling. I'll call in next week. Yep.
All right, brother.
All right.
Later. Eric, what did you mean by comparing JPJ? Who said that? Comparing JPJ to Lyle Alzado? I didn't say that. Did somebody say it in the chat and I missed it? Because I didn't see it. I just scrolled back. Raiders didn't go to the hottest didn't go get the hottest coach on the market and spend the most money in free agency to win one more game. Come on, I know no one in that building will be good with that. Oh, but they're going to give him a free pass. Doesn't matter who they brought in. If the talent's just not there 100%, it's just not there. OTA's on mentally conditioning yourself for the season. What's up, Cool Kev? What's going on, my guy? Let's see. Hey, Raquel. How you doing? Patriots lost first game of the season and made the Super Bowl with new everything. They didn't have a Max Crosby, Brock Bowers, or the best center of football, or two of the best linebackers in the NFL. And they had an easy-ass schedule. Did you look at their schedule last year? It was pathetic. And then once they got into the playoffs, they struggled. They won those games, made it to the Super Bowl, but they barely beat the Broncos. I'm telling you, Bo Nix played that game, Broncos would have been in the Super Bowl. I'm glad I sat in the line from last year, fighting for starting time. We finally have depth at O-line. Let's see. New England lost the first game and the last game. That's true. Yeah. Marcus, what's up, my guy? What's up, Marcus Banks? Welcome in. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Damn, Jeff just said that a 31-year-old should get social. No, I didn't say that. I'd rather take the younger kid and Cotter than fucking Vita Vea. But I want a player that's going to be here for a few years. Just think about it. You bring Vita Vea in here, we sign him to a 4-year. He's not going to make it. We're not going to keep him those 4 years. You got a better chance of keeping Jalen Carter here for 4 or 5 years than you do him. Let's see. Just want to check. Let's see. Somebody's basement. No, there was a call coming in. Oh, they hung up. All right. Let's see. JPJ is emotional and a loose cannon, so yeah, his character is comparable to guys like. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, if you look at it that way, yeah. You're on No Huddle with Jeff. State your name and your team.
Hi!
Here we go. All right, phone line shut down. This fucking kid in the back. It's been a few weeks since we heard them call in. Actually, they used to do it on Saturday nights, not on Friday nights, little fuckers. Let's see. Dean is not hurt. Our coaching staff is just closed mouth, and that's how it should be. It's out here. All right. On paper, Raiders look promising, but they riddled with bullets. Face of the franchise, Crosby is playing on a banana peel. I hope Leonard shows out. Graham was okay with what he had. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've said this too, and I agree 100%. On paper, we look awesome. 100%. With everything that we brought in between draft picks, free agency. Yeah, we look tremendous. Well, let's let the playing on the field speak, and then we'll stop thinking. 8-9 would be successful campaign. True. If we win 6 games, it's a winning season. 9-8 would be a Cinderella season, but no playoffs. I hope we sweep the Chargers and Broncos. Fuck AC. I don't see that happening, but it would be nice. Yeah, it's just some kids, man. They call up and prank calls every now and then. Little bastards. Well, I've been on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. What's up, Raider Nation? It says 8 and 9. I can see that. Not. Sorry. All right, so we're going to call it for the night. So I appreciate everybody being here who came through tonight, everybody that called in. Thank you for the moderators that were in here tonight, putting up my links and such. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe, hit the likes, hit the notifications. We'll be back on Tuesday night on the Most Notorious, along with Cheeto Linus and Will from Silver and Black podcast. So check that out. Should go on. Usually we go on at 10 o'clock Eastern time, so 7 o'clock Pacific. Don't forget to hit up the merchandise link. Everything's in the description below. If you are coming out to New England for the Raiders-Patriots game, the link is also in the description for the link tree for the Black Hole chapter with all the itinerary that we got listed. I got to update it. I got to add a few things. I did confirm an actual time frame for the Fenway Park tour. It's going to be starting at 4:30 on that Saturday. We're going to take the tour of Fenway Park. That'll be over by 5:30, and then we're going to walk down the street to the location for the Saturday night party at Game On is the name of the location. We'll have access to the visitors' batting cage downstairs, and it's all still inside Fenway Park. So Saturday night's activities will be the tour of the park, and then going into Game On for the Saturday night party. We will have a DJ there also too. So Saturday, everybody's on their own for what they want to do during the day. I'm just going to ask that everybody show up at the front gate. I'll get the location exactly where we need to go at least a half hour before the tour starts so we can get everybody together and then go in and have our tour of the park. So it's going to be fun. Anybody that's coming to New York for the Raiders-Jets game, some exciting news. I haven't finished the flyer yet. I'm probably going to work on that tomorrow. But we have a update on the Saturday night party. So it's still nothing's changing. The location's staying the same. We're going to be at Reds in New Jersey, right across the street from MetLife Stadium. Party starts at 6 o'clock. They don't close till 2 a.m., so we can stay there as long as we want. We've got the whole first floor to ourselves, which is the main bar, the entire restaurant, and the outside patio if the weather's still decent. It's Halloween night, so costumes are optional. If you want to wear a costume, by all means, go for it. We're going to have raffles. But here's the special addition to everything. From 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, Phil Villapiano is going to be in-house doing a book signing. His new book just came out, Just Tackle Baby. The books are $30 a piece. It's $10 for him to sign it. So if you buy the book and the signature there, it's $40. If you already have your own book and you bring it with you, it's $10 for him to sign the book. From 6 to 8, he's only going to be doing book signings. After that, if he hangs around afterwards and you have other stuff that you would like to present to him to see about signing, that's up to you. Okay? So make sure if you guys have stuff that you want to bring it. We will discuss after the signing is over if he's gonna do it. No, I'm not turning the phones back on. No, I'm not turning them back on. So you can forget it. And just like that, you're gone. I don't even know who that is. I get on ban whoever that is. I have no idea. So anyway, make sure if you guys are going to New York, hit me up. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter. You know where I am. Everybody can easily contact me. My phone number's not hard to find, so you can find it. And it's not this number either. But if you want to leave a voicemail, you can leave a voicemail on this number, and I will get back to you. So feel free at any point during the week. If you guys want to leave a voicemail, we'll listen to them before I start the show. That's how I'll start the show, is listening to voicemails to catch up on everything that went on and what you guys want to talk about. So, again, as I started saying, thank you everybody for being here tonight. If you've not already, make sure you hit that like, the subscribe, notifications. Drop a comment after the show and let me know what your team still needs, what you think about, the before and after training camp, what's going to go on between now and then. Is Max going to get traded? Do you still think he should? Do you think he's a Raider for life, as everybody wants him to be? We'll be back with more NFL talk and more call-ins next week. Hopefully there's a little bit more news by then. We'll have to wait and see. But where did that go? Oh, what the hell? All right, I guess I didn't have that in there. But whatever, it is what it is. Let's see. Raider Nation, I'm lit. Gonna go. Peace. Later, Gio. Tokyo Raider. Good show, Jeff. Happy Father's Day. Yes, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Make sure you guys reach out to your dads if your dads are still with us. Make sure you wish your dad a happy Father's Day. Spend some time with him, your kids. If you don't have kids and you have pets, you're still a father, so spend time with your pet too. So I know I'm gonna have a good day on Sunday. I'll be with my 2 kids, my grandchildren, my wife, everybody else. My mom will probably stop up here too. So I don't have a dad anymore, so I don't have that. So until next time, everybody, as I always say, stay safe. And I'm going to say it tonight. Go Raiders.